think developing a relationship with kids is number one, right? People aren't going to listen to you, and this is across the board. They're not going to listen to you if they don't think that you like them. If they don't believe that you think they're a good person, their opinion automatically gets invalidated. So I actually think one of the biggest things that we can do in any classroom anywhere is to develop a relationship with our kids, get to know them, get to know how they identify themselves, what they like about themselves, and make sure you let them know that, or I let them know that I like those things too, that I think they're funny, that I think they're adventurous, that I think that they're brave, that I think that they are, helpful and kind, whatever it is that I observe that's good in them. Making sure that I say that out loud is important. It does help build a relationship with them and helps them, believe that you like them. So that when things come up, when they are struggling with something, that if there is a behavior that's not okay or that's not acceptable, like, you can come to them with that, and sometimes that's it. You can just say, hey, I'm noticing that Emily, her face looks really sad. She's looking really upset. Can I ask you to not, yell like that? It's hurting her feelings. Whatever it is. Like, if you have a relationship with that kid, they are much more apt to listen to you. And sometimes that's it, right? That's it. That's all you need to do is just simply ask. However, that's, I guess, an ideal world. In addition, like, making sure that you are also behaving in a way that you want the kids to behave, because they're always watching and they're always learning. If you aren't treating other kids with kindness, they're going to know that that's something that's not expected of them. Making sure that you are treating them the way you want them to treat others is another big thing. And then, just pointing it out, particular behaviors when you see them. I remember, I think it was either class 1 or class 2 with Cassie's class. The kids had developed this game where essentially they were chasing Andrew and tackling Andrew. And it was a fun game at first. He thought that it was really funny. He was laughing. And then I don't think he got hurt, but you could just see the switch, right? He didn't think that he just was not enjoying himself anymore. And in a very firm voice, he said, "Stop it, I don't want to play this anymore." And it was wonderful. Like, it was exactly what you hope emotionally mature kids do, right? Like, he was just super clear, let everybody know what he needed, and everybody did stop. And the great thing was that, like, that gave Cassie an opportunity to be like, Andrew, I loved your big voice there. Like, I loved that you let everybody know when you were no longer comfortable with that game. So just pointing out those good behaviors is another really effective way to show kids what it is that you want them to do. As opposed to making such a big deal out of the unwanted behaviors. The problem with that is, for kids that aren't getting attention, like, if you're giving a lot of attention to those negative behaviors, there are going to be some kids that use those behaviors to get attention. So really making sure that you're giving attention to the positive behaviors, I think, is also super important. And then finally, like, if you are witnessing the negative behaviors, if there's something that you want to shift or change that isn't okay, I'm really, really coming to the belief that, like, making it wrong is just not effective, right? It doesn't feel good for anybody, adults too, to just feel like they're wrong, right? And there's always more to it, especially with kids. It's so much easier to observe Cassie in her class, I think, because I'm, like, playing the assistant role, so it's just easier to kind of back up and observe. But, she had one kid that had a beetle, and most of the other kids were it was really cool to see. They didn't want to disturb logs where they knew the animals were, and pointing out that great idea of leaving nature intact, and was really that was all but one kid needed. And there was one kid that got a bug and pulled all of his legs off. And I think that there was a couple ways that we could have gone about this, right? We could have said, no, that's not how you treat bugs. You don't do that. Like, that's not okay. Like, why would you just know? It's a really bad example, but you get it, right? Like, just telling a kid that they've done something wrong isn't always helpful. You haven't learned why they've done it. They haven't learned why they're not supposed to do it. All they've learned is that it made you upset. It made you angry. And for a lot of kids, it means I got attention. So instead, like, Cassie sat down with him and, like, asked him questions. Genuinely. Like, why did you choose to, why did you take the bug's legs off? And what she came up with was that, he didn't understand the link between that bug not having legs meant that bug isn't going to survive. Like, it needs its legs to be able to do the things bugs do to live. And I don't think that he really understood that, because we had talked the week before about spiders and how a lot of spiders can lose, a couple legs and they're fine. And so I don't think that he quite got that ripping all those bugs' legs off meant that bug couldn't survive. So for him, maybe he just needed that understanding. He needed somebody to explain that to him, because he didn't want to kill the bug. I think he was maybe just curious, right? And that whole idea of survival of life and death, kids aren't always, yeah, we have a lot of instincts, but kids don't understand that on a cerebral level. Oh, I just got really loud. So for him, changing that behavior was really much more about understanding why it happened in the first place. And I think that a lot of behaviors are like that. Once we understand why they're going on, that's when we can really impact kids and help change patterns and help heal and help, understanding, I think, is really the key to a lot of behavior management.